know that Americans of goodwill continue to hold a wide range of views on this issue. Opposition in some cases has been based on sincere and deeply held beliefs. All of us who welcome today's news should be mindful of that fact. Recognize different viewpoints. Revere our deep commitment to religious freedom.
Yeah, this is a man who's suing a bunch of nuns. Welcome back, folks. Brent Budowsky, writer for The Hill, thehill.com, former aide to Senator Lloyd Bentsen joins us. Hello.
Good to be here, and I support the nuns and the Pope.
Good. Well, all right. Well, I don't support the Pope today signing that agreement with the murderous Palestinian regime, but that's another issue for another day. Let's talk about the Supreme Court. And any of the actions over the past 24 to 48 hours surprise you?
No, actually they didn't. On the Obamacare, I wrote a column several months ago that simply said Roberts and the court will uphold Obamacare as a legal issue based on the legislative intent of the Congress that passed the law. And I think it was pretty obvious what the intent was. So I wasn't surprised about that. On the gay rights case, I expected this, but there was some chance that they wouldn't go as far and would simply could have said, well, the states could recognize marriages of gays, but they're not going to be forced to. So they went further than they could have. Personally, I think it was a good week for liberals and progressives. And, you know, the Confederate flag can fly anybody's home, anybody's lapel, anybody's T-shirt, but not on public buildings. Well, and I think those are all three good trends, certainly from my point of view.
Well, even the president at the eulogy today said the flag didn't kill anybody. I just think we're heading down a very dangerous slope. You say anybody could wear the flag. You can't buy it at Amazon. You can't buy it at a host of dealers now in stores and outlets that normally you would be able to buy it. You could buy Hitler paraphernalia. You could buy Stalin, you could buy Che Guevara, you could buy anything you want, as Ben Stein pointed out yesterday. But the Confederate flag, oh, that's the evil of all evils.
Well, look, if I was a retailer, I would let people buy what they want. I think when you're talking about government buildings, that is different. And it should, in my view, come down from every government building everywhere. I think people have a First Amendment right to wear it if that's what they want. I don't agree with it, but that's their right.
All right, let's move on. You got coming out tomorrow in the Hill, why the right is frightened of Hillary Rodham Clinton. First of all, before we get to that piece specifically, let's imagine Carly Fiorina's husband was governor of a state 20 years ago. And while he was governor, he flew the Confederate flag, not only flew it, but celebrated it by signing Confederate Flag Day into law. Let's make believe that he, at the eulogy, gave a eulogy for Robert Byrd and referenced him being in the KKK and made an excuse for it, saying he just wanted to win an election. He had to join. And let's make believe that Carly Fiorina's husband also cited William Fulbright, a segregationist who signed the Southern Manifesto, as his hero, as his mentor. You think Carly Fiorina would be in trouble and be asked about that at this point? Because that all applies to Hillary.
I don't think there is one voter who cares about that.
Really?
And if you want to, yeah, and if what Bill Clinton did on the Confederate flag in the 1980s. Now, if you want to go there, I was ready for this.
Go ahead.
We could talk about what Jeb Bush said about single women that get pregnant in 1994, 1995.
That's fine with me. I don't like Jeb Bush.
Well, okay. I mean, look, we could talk about what Marco Rubio did with his finances, as reported in the New York Times.
Wait. Brent, you're making my point. The New York Times did a front-page story on the ridiculous, obscene nonsense of his finances, his irresponsible finances.
Are you telling me the New York Times hasn't been critical of Hillary Rodham Clinton?
I'm telling you, nobody's written about or spoken about.
They had a special relationship, or whatever they call it, with what I called a Clinton cash con book that defamed the Clinton Foundation by Peter Schweitzer, that their own publisher had to admit had 8 mistakes in it, at least. And they had to apologize and correct those mistakes.
Brett, why don't you tell me why
the New York Times is no big friend of Hillary Clinton.
But my point is there have been front-page stories about Rubio, which is ridiculous. It makes it just bolsters Rubio in the minds of the public.
Well, look, you don't hear me making those arguments, and I have not used those points, and I haven't even repeated and won't what they said. I thought the New York Times was fed Oppo junk, that they, probably by the Jeb Bush campaign, but by somebody. I didn't think it was troublesome. I wrote a column a few weeks ago that spoke very well of Marco Rubio. My point is, I don't want to dredge up what Marco Rubio did 15 years ago, or what Bill Clinton did 20 years ago, or what Jeb Bush did in 1995. I want to talk about what Americans care about. And I'll tell you this.
I thought they care about the Confederate flag, Brent.
Actually, most of them don't, but a lot of blacks do. And from their point of view, it's a symbol of racism and hatred.
Then why did Hillary stay silent? Wasn't it also a symbol of racism when Bill Clinton celebrated it?
Now, Steve, if you want me to talk longer than Fidel Castro in a speech, every time you do that, I'm going to repeat things that Jeb Bush and Marco Rubio and will filibuster, and our audience will need a bottle of Jack Daniels by the time this is
All right,
through.
listen, we only have about 45 seconds. Tell me what's in your column.
Well, I think that the Republicans have reason to be worried about Hillary Clinton. In one poll recently, she was up by 7 to 10 against all the major Republicans. Not that she's a shoo-in, and I don't believe that poll. I also think Hillary Clinton has some things to worry about from Bernie Sanders, who's picking up support. He's within 8 of her in New Hampshire in a latest poll from WMUR. She needs to worry about that. But what we all need to worry about is what's right for America, not what happened in the 80s or the 90s or this or that. That's my view.
All right, fair enough. We look forward to reading it at thehill.com. Brent, always good to talk to you. Have a great weekend, sir.
You too. Be good. Happy 4th.
Not yet, but okay. Maybe we won't speak until then. All right, folks, we're coming back with more of the Steve Malzberg Show. Don't go away.